Alright guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at the Fenty Beauty MVP Sculpting, what is it? Sculpting Brow Wax Pencil and Styler. Now this isn't a pencil per se. It does have the spoolie on one side, the kind of like toothbrush style spoolie that they have for their brow products, and then you have the wax on the other side. This ranges for $20 at Sephora. Now, I have been really enjoying a fluffier brow lately. I did want to get this to kind of replicate that kind of look that I've been going for lately. And I have used this once, so I do have some thoughts, but I did want to put it to the test again today. It is hot. I can't wait for the fall. So I'm just gonna get right into it. My brows are pretty thick, and so I really wanted to see if this would work on my brow, right? Because again, if you have sparse brows or your brow hairs are very thin, anything will work on your brow. So I'm gonna pretty much do kind of what I do with soap, is what I usually use. So I'm gonna take the wax, and you can wind it up like that. And I'm just gonna start rubbing it into all the brow hairs. And I do go back and forth because I want to make sure that the brow hairs are nice and coated with this wax. And it is a clear wax, which I do like, so it doesn't look white on your brows, and it doesn't dry white either. So I definitely have a good amount of wax on there after rubbing it back and forth about 20 times. So let me go ahead and cap that. And again, we're going for that fluffy brow look. The spoolie is very intriguing to me just because it's so different from what I'm used to. As far as the shape, obviously, but also the material. It is like a plastic, and I find the plastic to be kind of flimsy. Like if you see that, like I have some thoughts. Let's give it like a minute just to dry down a little bit, just like I do with the soap, and just see if that kind of helps as far as sculpting, because remember, this is a sculpting brow wax, right? And styler. Okay, and you can feel it on the brow. So I mean, it's definitely there. I definitely saturated my brows pretty well with this wax, but yeah, so let's go back in. When I used this last night, because I did play with it last night, I initially was like, maybe it's the flimsy brush that's making it hard to really get my thicker brow hairs to stick more straight up and go into the shape that I want it to be. However, even when I take a spoolie, right, like a stronger spoolie, which is my normal one, and I try to manipulate the hairs up, it does a better job, but I do feel like it's really hard to manipulate, if I'm being honest. Now, that's just my opinion. And with that being said, you know, for it to say that it's a sculpting and styling wax, I kind of wish that they would consider people with thicker brows when they make claims like that, just because, I mean, think about foundation, right? If a foundation says it's full coverage, is it full coverage if it's covering the skin of somebody who has minimal imperfections on their skin? Or are we going to look at people who have, you know, more redness, maybe some more blemishes, some dark spots, to make sure that something is full coverage, right? So when I think of something that is sculpting and styling, I would want it to work on people who have thicker brows, because if it works with people who have thicker brows, it's 100% going to work for people who have thinner brows. Like, I do want to show you guys what I normally use to get that fluffy brow effect for thicker eyes. I use soap. Go ahead and focus, babe. The Brow Styling Soap by Beckisue Cosmetics. And I actually found this on Amazon. It is a soap, so it's a styling soap. I like it though, because as opposed to grabbing a bar of soap and having to keep it in like a little plastic baggie and it get all messy, this has, you know, a slide out container that you can open and close. It just keeps everything really clean. I just don't have to worry about this being a mess on my vanity or anything like that. If I wanted to travel with this, I wouldn't have to worry about it. And as you saw, it is clear, which is what you want for a soap you're using to style your brows. You're gonna wanna take some water. So I keep some distilled water by my vanity for things like this. I just put a drop of that in the pan like this, and I'll take my spoolie, which I believe this is the Anastasia one. So you guys can see just from me talking, my brow is starting to just go back to the way it was. You know, it's not bad. I definitely could work with this, and it's still a nice brow. But again, I wanted something that would really hold and let me sculpt and style my brows. So I digress. I have the water in here. I take the spoolie. You just kind of want to mix it around. You don't need too much soap. Get the brush saturated. That's soap. It is soap. Kind of like what I did earlier, I like to go ahead and run the soap through here and do it back and forth, because I want to make sure again that every brow hair is saturated with the product. And then there's usually soap on the other side of the brush, so I'll go on the other side and do the same thing, you know. What I find with brow soap, like I mentioned with the Fenty styler, is you do want to give it, especially if you have thick brows. I'm going to repeat that. So brushing it back and forth in between all those hairs helps, and then also letting it start to dry. So we added water to liquefy it a little bit so we can pass it through the brows. But as that water starts to evaporate, the soap is going to start to solidify again, and then it's really going to allow us to, you know, get that effect, fluff those brows up. So just give it a minute. You don't need to wait too long, but give it a minute and I promise you it'll make the job so much easier. I've learned through experimentation. So give it a minute and then we'll fluff it up. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start brushing this up. Look at that. And it just makes the job so much easier. You can see, like, do you see that already? Like when oh yeah. Do you see that? Lays them things down, okay? You see that? So easy, so easy. And at this point, you want to let it dry completely before you go in with any other product on the eye to like fill anything in, just because again it is soap and so it is a little bit waxy itself, but as soon as it dries, boom, you're able to go. I'm gonna go ahead and just do this brow. I did already put some soap in here, so let's see if I'm able to get the effect that I want. Yeah, you see that? So much better. And you're able to manipulate it for quite some time too, you know, like it's not gonna dry right away. You can kind of play with it if you want. What a difference in the performance. Like this just works so much better for me. Again, if you have thinner brows, right, your experience may be the complete opposite, because if you have thinner brows or sparse brows, you're not really manipulating that much. You know, your concerns are going to be more filling in your brow, you know, all of that. But if you have a thicker brow like myself and you're trying to achieve that more laminated look, I've seen people use eyelash glue and stuff like that, but I really find that this works really well for me. And it gives me the desired effect. It really does. And again, let me zoom you in just a little bit more. And you guys can see, like, it's laying those hairs up very well, and it's gonna stay like that. It stays like that all day. Usually at this point, just real quick, I'll take the Ardell Stroke and Brow. They have multiple shades. I will add hairs wherever I need. For example, the ends over here can be a little boom, and you have a brow, a fluffy brow, a laminated looking brow. So that's how I do my fluffy brows. So just a quick recap. I did not care for the Fenty brow styler for what I wanted it for. Do I think I will get use out of this? I think so. When I'm not trying to do the laminated brow effect, I think that I definitely can use this to just set my brows. And so that's what I would call this, is like a brow set, okay? Just because again, if you're only able to style and sculpt thin brows or sparse brows, that's not really a sculpt and styler to me, just because again, anything can sculpt some thin brows. It would not work if you have any bit of a thick brow or if you have like a full brow. It's not gonna work for that. But if you just want to set your brows, I think this is a great thing to just swipe on, brush on. My real criticism for this, like one of my realest criticisms, is what is this brush? Like, my thing about the brush is not even the shape of the brush. I actually was excited to see a new innovative spoolie shape. Not that it's new, I think other brands have had it too, but I was excited to try the shape of it. But the fact that it is this flimsy, that's concerning to me. Like, it feels like it would snap off, to be honest. And again, if you have thicker brows, you're gonna be pressing harder because, you know, you need to manipulate your brows a little bit more. So I don't mind the shape of the brush. I do wish that they made it more sturdy. Like, why couldn't they have a metal one with the hairs just in that shape type of thing versus having that very flimsy plastic? It just seems like it's really catered to like models and like people who have like very thin brows, very groomed, and like they just brush it up real quick and it's done, good to go. But if you have thicker brows, if you have more full brows that do require a little bit more manipulation to do certain techniques and shapes like this probably isn't gonna be for you. Now, honestly, I've been using this brow soap for months. Like, it's been a minute. I've made a small dent in it, but I've been using this for months and I really recommend this. Of course, you can use any soap like I mentioned, but this is just nice and compact. Slides open, slides close, easy to travel with if you're on the go, whatever the case may be. And you definitely can use this to set a brow and to sculpt and shape a brow. I really would recommend this, to be honest. So I'll have this link down below. I got this on Amazon. I think you can still get it on Amazon, but they do have an Instagram page as well, because this honestly has been the only way that I've been able to get the laminated brow effect with my brows. And I'm not really keen on putting like lash glue in my brows to do so, because before this, that was really the only way I would have been able to get that effect. So if you are like me and you have thicker brows and you've been using lash glue or things of that nature, give this a try. Use some of the tips that I mentioned, letting it dry down, all of that, and give this a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed, for sure, because if it could do this for my brow, it can do it for yours, I promise. So yeah, guys, I'm not trying to shit on Fenty, but I'm just letting you know my honest thoughts on it. If you've tried these products, let me know. Even the brow soap, I'd love to know if any of you have tried this brow soap before. It's amazing. Let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys are staying safe, and I will see you guys the next time.